for you now on planetaudio.org.nz. planetaudio.org.nz.
Hello, my name is Simon. Welcome to Why Is That, a free speech platform where we explore big ideas and the controversies of our time. Hello, beloveds, and welcome back to another episode of Why Is That? A particularly joyous episode. The establishment and the mainstream media did not see the election of Donald Trump. Why is that? I can tell you why. It's because they lost complete touch of reality. I wasn't looking to do a post-election show, but as Andrew Breitbart said, politics is downstream from culture. There is so much social commentary to give on the result of the election. First of all, World War III was called off. That was great. You know, nobody's provoking Russia anymore. But I suppose the main story is so many people didn't see this coming, especially the mainstream media that was pumping out a very, very one-sided view of things. But as we have covered on the show before the election, only about 6% of Americans trusted completely the media. Now, after the election, their credibility is gone. Right up to the afternoon of the election day, mainstream media outlets were predicting a huge win for Clinton. The New York Times predicted 80% chance of a Clinton victory. The Huffington Post, 98.1. Microsoft's Bing, 89.7. Now, with those odds, you know, if Trump won, it would just be coming over the line. But no, that's not what happened at all. He won quite convincingly. He crushed Clinton in the Electoral College vote. He flipped about 6 strongly traditional Democrat states, bringing the Republican total to 33 states out of 50. And this isn't even including the Republicans having both the majority in the Senate and in the Congress. So effectively, through and through, it's a Republican government now. How did this all happen? Well, this is what I'm going to explain to you, dear listeners. The mainstream media did not see this coming at all. This is completely out of the blue to them. A lot have called it a shock victory, inexplicable. The media internationally have pretty much been the same, but my favourite one is the New Zealand Listener. Trump shock win, the new reality of Fortress America. So please, 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 the people who got it so very wrong, tell me the reality of the situation. You could not see it yourself during the election. All your predictions were wrong. But please, 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 tell me how it is. Now, this is how this happened. You have, the political establishment and the mainstream media that are in bed with each other, and they're so bloody arrogant. They're going to, they're just so smarter than you. They're going to tell you how it is, always. And if you don't agree with them, you're stupid, you're a racist, you're a homophobe, or whatever. And they just don't get it because they lost touch with reality. They believe their own press. In fact, they are their own press. You on the mainstream media, you would have heard so little coverage about WikiLeaks. All you pretty much hear is from Clinton or some other Democratic operator about how the emails are stolen. Not about the content, not addressing anything in there, just they were stolen. The media wouldn't cover it, but guess what? The media doesn't have monopoly anymore. Just as for presidential elections. FDR got in because of radio. John F. Kennedy really got in because of TV. Donald Trump got in because of the internet. Now, on Facebook, Twitter, Minds, Gab, so many social media platforms, the thing that was trending for so long was WikiLeaks. In fact, a week before election, it was the most trending thing on Facebook, I think. And the media was ignoring it, but everyone was talking about it. And of course, people are not idiots. They watch the news. They see how biased it is. That all they pretty much did was attack Trump and portray Hillary Clinton in a positive light. Someone who is pretty much a crook. If you go and look at the Clinton Cash documentary that you can find on YouTube, the Clinton Foundation seems to be a criminal organization. Let's not forget, as Secretary of State, she pretty much collapsed Libya, Africa's wealthiest nation, to the point its leader died by lynch mob. Oh, and it became an ISIS stronghold. There was the email server scandal, numerous FBI investigations. There's still 4 active FBI investigations for people involved in the Clinton camp. Just, dear God, why didn't the media cover that? And of course, all the claims being made against Trump, people could go online and research it for themselves, having people who've done the research rip apart a lot of these claims that were made against him. That were just, if they were true, yeah, that would be horrible. But so many of it wasn't true. And of course, there were so many unsung heroes out there who went through thousands and thousands of WikiLeaks to find, the information that was in there that was pertinent. I mean, that the Clinton Foundation and ISIS are funded by the same people. What now? And by the same people, I mean the governments of Saudi Arabia and Qatar. It's in the Podesta email leaks, although it's just confirming what so many people have known for quite a while. And of course, there was the enthusiasm gap. Barack Obama came on a platform of hope and change. And nothing changed. And this election, there was a lot of excitement around the anti-establishment candidates, Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, on the respective sides of the political spectrum. You had so much enthusiasm for both of them. And Hillary, who's the ultimate establishment candidate, stole the nomination from Bernie Sanders. We know this from the WikiLeaks. And what the media refused to cover was that hardly anyone showed up to Hillary Clinton rallies. And at Donald Trump rallies, they had to turn thousands away. He was averaging about 20-something thousand people per rally. They had, I think it was the New York Times, they had a picture just before the election. They had Trump about to walk on stage. There's a black background, and there's a few people with hands up with cameras. So it looks like nothing's going on, and a few people there. And then they had a picture of Hillary, which looked like, she was at a huge rally and huge support. And, with Trump's picture, no one supported him. The complete inverse of reality. I mean, they had to cancel some of those rallies on the Hillary side because they just had an embarrassingly small amount of people who signed up to go. That might have just been a Tim Kaine, her vice president, pick. Where did they had to cancel Donald Trump rallies? Well, when things got really violent. Why did they get violent? Oh, because of Trump supporters. Well, no, we know through Project Veritas, the operatives working for the Democratic National Committee and linked to the Hillary Clinton campaign were purposely going in there causing violence. And what do we see after the election? A whole lot of violent protests because Hillary Clinton didn't get it. A lot of these people are apparently paid. A lot of the people organising it belong to an organisation that's funded by George Soros, who was a major Hillary Clinton campaign donor, who a number of countries refer to as an economic war criminal because he collapsed their currencies for profit, causing, so much harm to millions of people in poor countries. But of course, if you look at the allegations against the Clinton campaign, well, Clinton might have done the same thing. And a very real argument could be made, these people are sociopaths. But no. So many people wanted Hillary to get it. And speaking of Hillary and these protests, she hasn't come out to condemn them. Hasn't gone, not in my name. Barack Obama hasn't made an appeal for calm or to the protesters to stop. They've been silent on it. That speaks volumes. And this is confirming what so many people have known for quite a while. The left is becoming quite dangerous. I mean, it's just not about these violent protests in America over the election. Look at Brexit. I mean, after the Brexit vote, there was huge protests against a democratic decision. I mean, that's astounding. This is going into fascist territory. No, we don't like the result. We want it overturned. I mean, they partially wanted to leave the EU because there were a number of countries that had referendums on a number of issues. And if they didn't vote the way the European Union wanted it, they'd have to vote again and again until they came to the correct decision. And you have, like in Canada, you have people literally protesting against free speech. Now we live in what's called the Anglosphere, Western English-speaking countries. You can't say one country doesn't have a link to the other English-speaking ones. I looked at some of the other Project Veritas videos, and one of the things that was uncovered was members of the Australian Labor Party were sent over to campaign for Bernie Sanders. And huge violations of the campaign laws, but that's not the main thing that a lot of leftist groups are coordinating. I mean, New Zealand, we had the Labor Party, who's not in power, put forward legislation that said that if a man was accused of rape, he would be considered guilty unless he could prove himself innocent. Going against the foundation of our legal system, innocent until proven guilty of any crime. But of course, in North America and the UK, etc., where they have the rape crisis scare, it did not originate in New Zealand context, I do not believe. I think there was coordination between the Labor Party and overseas groups who were trying to bring that in overseas, try to get it in New Zealand so they could point to say New Zealand did it, so should we. Now this is why you're seeing the rise of nationalistic groups and movements all over the West. You haven't seen the end of this. It started with Brexit. You could argue it started in Iceland, but that's not part of the Anglosphere, so it's a forerunner. It's funny because with Brexit, you had Mr. Brexit himself, Nigel Farage, come and campaign with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump described if they won as Brexit plus plus. And you have some people who, it's funny, commentators, when people have likened it to Brexit, they've played it down like, oh, well, what does that have to do? You know, America's not leaving anywhere, you know. It's true, you can't get somebody to understand something they're paid not to understand. The whole sentiment of it. And you're probably going to see this through Europe as well. A whole lot of nationalistic anti-EU movements that want their countries back. They want their sovereignties. They want to be able to insist on their primary culture. They want France to be French. They want Italy to be Italy. They want the Netherlands to be Dutch. And frankly, if you have a problem with that, you're a bigot. Don't say that they're bigots for not wanting to take in waves upon waves of people who have no interest in assimilating their culture and is thus diluting theirs. I mention this because we just see such shocking double standards. I mean, one of the things that are trending on Twitter right now not only is assassinate Trump, but rape Melania, Trump's wife. I'm sorry, what? The left or the whole rape culture and, oh my God, we've got to protect women? No. Once they lose, rape Melania, she deserves it. You know, it's so freaking shocking. The left is all about women, unless, you know, not Margaret Thatcher, of course. I mean, you know, one of the greatest politicians of all time, but she's on the right. Never call a woman the C word, except for its own culture. Because, you know, it's just funny then. You see, if you do not agree with our point of view, you know, you're racist, you're a bigot, you're a homophobe, you're this, you're that, blah, blah, blah. But then they'll breach their own standards because it's anything and everything for their agenda. I mean, Hillary Clinton is literally a disciple of Saul Alinsky, who wrote Rules for Radicals, who, it's not a activist handbook. It is basically an amoral. There's no morality in it whatsoever. It does advocate lying and cheating to get power. You know, one of them is accuse the opposition of what you're doing. So if you're doing dirty tactics, accuse them of the same dirty tactics. They might not be doing them, but hey, you know, throw mud. And, you know, it also creates a image of a false equivalency. Oh, you know, politics is so dirty, both sides do it. Well, no. Trump didn't send people to Clinton rallies to cause violence, but it was the other way around. And frankly, people were fine with that. You know, it wasn't, the media was fine. They turned a blind eye. There is no way at all they didn't know. They tried to black it out until they couldn't because it was just being talked on social media. So what does that say about the morality of the media? I mean, they're not going to condemn these protests. They're not going to look at what's trending on Twitter, rape Melania, and go, well, these guys are kind of fascists and misogynists. They're not going to do that. But people are going to see it. And frankly, these protesters are ensuring a second Trump term. Because even though people aren't aware of specific cases, such as Canadian university students literally protesting against free speech, or riots caused by anti-Trump protesters or Black Lives Matter or whatever, there is a general feeling, and it's quite an uncomfortable feeling. I mean, this is coming from the left. I used to be on the left many moons ago. But as I said, it's anything and everything and double standards, and we have all the answers, but we're just going to resort to name-calling. You know, there is no argument anymore. I mean, And this was brilliantly covered by left-wing comedian Johnathan Pies, with that stage name, but you can find him on YouTube. Just type in Johnathan Pies. And here's a clip called President Trump, How and Why. It's a very small section of it.
Trump, the left is responsible for this result because the left have now decided that any other opinion, any other way of looking at the world is unacceptable. We don't debate anymore because the left won the cultural war. So if you're on the right, you're a freak. You're evil, you're racist, you're stupid, you are a basket of deplorables. How do you think people are going to vote if you talk to them like that? When has anyone ever been persuaded by being insulted or labelled? So now, if you're on the right or even against the prevailing view, you are attacked for raising your opinion. That's why people wait until they're in the voting booth. No one's watching anymore. There's no blame or shame or anything, and you can finally say what you really think, and that is a powerful thing. The Tories in charge, Brexit, and now Trump. And all the polls were wrong. All of them. Because when asked, people can't admit what they think. They can't admit what they think. They're not allowed to. The left don't allow them to. We have made people unable to articulate their position for fear of being shut down. They're embarrassed to say it. Every time someone on the left has said, you mustn't say that, they are contributing to this culture. It's time to stop moaning. It's time to stop crying over spilt fucking Brexit. It's time to stop ignoring your opponents, or worse, trying to silence them. It's time to stop banning people from speaking in universities. It's time to stop thinking that reposting an article on your Facebook feed is political engagement, that banning a gymnast from doing what he's good at because he insulted someone's religion somehow achieves something. And sorry, when did the Gymnast Association start thinking it was appropriate to start enforcing blasphemy laws? It's time to realise that reading The Guardian doesn't make you a liberal, that retweeting Greenpeace doesn't lower your carbon footprint. And if my mansplaining is triggering you, you can either fuck off to your safe space, or you can engage and debate me and tell me what I'm getting wrong. Because Trump just won the White House. Being offended doesn't work anymore. Throwing insults doesn't work anymore.
I really should just play that clip at the beginning. I mean, part of this... Actually, well, part of all this revolution that's happening over the Western world is a result of the left's attack culture. Now, that's not everybody on the left, but it's become quite vicious. People being banned on university campuses... no platformed, as they call it. There's no... When did universities stop being, a place of higher education where you can have intelligent debates and learn? It's meant to be centre to the marketplace of ideas. But no. It's... I mean, I went to teachers' college. It was just very... very left. It was just painful. And they just look at you like, any alternate point of view, what are you on about? I think I mentioned this before about, somebody liking Trump's victory to Brexit, which a lot of people have. He's described, if he won, as Brexit plus, and, nope, I don't understand what you're saying. And nor would you ever admit to, even if you saw it. And most of the time you wonder if they can see it, if they've just lost touch with reality, protesting the results of democratic votes, protesting free speech. If you want to look more into that, look into Professor Jordan Peterson, who is giving a talk about free speech, because of all these people that want no platform speakers and all, etc., and was protested. Some of the protests got violent against a reporter, Lauren Southern. If you're listening to this on YouTube, or if you go and find Why Is That radio show on YouTube, there'll be a link to a Rebel Media interview with Professor Peterson called Bloody Neo-Marxists sorry again, bloody neo-Marxists have invaded the campuses. In fact, you see this in England, or Britain, with the Labour Party. Corbyn has been trying to unite various leftist factions, including the Trotskyites, who I didn't know these people still existed. Leon Trotsky was one of the sort of founding fathers of the Soviet Union, but he advocated violent revolution. He wrote a book called In Defense of Terrorism. So you have these quite violent Marxists threatening Labour MPs that haven't gotten in line with Corbyn. We talk a lot about philosophy on the show, or at least in the web extended, things which you can find on our YouTube channel. But any philosophy that is contradictory will just end up collapsing on itself. So this is the problem with the double standards that have been happening. And with the progressive agenda, which progressivism has many Marxist tendencies to it, as just bringing society into such alien territory, people don't want to go there. Because intrinsically, a lot of these reformists are antisocial. They don't like society. They want to change it. They really, really don't like society. And they're not going to tell you their overall plan. This is Hillary Clinton. Getting back to that and the WikiLeaks thing, that you have to have a private and public position. What you tell the people and what you secretly believe. That's not a big shock. Here's a clip of Hillary Clinton, her denials over the email scandal of any wrongdoing, and the FBI Director Comey doing a press conference about the issue.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. 110
emails in 52 email chains have been determined by the owning agency to contain classified information at the time they were sent or received.
I provided all my emails that could possibly be work-related.
Several thousand work-related emails that were not among the group of 30,000 emails returned by Secretary Clinton.
I thought using one device would be simpler.
She also used numerous mobile devices to send and to read email.
There were no security breaches.
It is possible that hostile actors gained access to Secretary Clinton's personal email account.
It was my practice to communicate with State Department and other government officials on their .gov accounts.
Hostile actors gained access to the private commercial email accounts of people with whom Secretary Clinton was in regular contact from her personal account.
No doubt that we've done exactly what we should have done.
They were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information.
People will be able to judge for themselves.
Now, this wasn't presented in the media, but of course, it's online. I think the big takeaway, as I'm wrapping this up, is, do you know your opponent's point of view? Now, it was funny, in one of Hillary Clinton's speeches, she signaled out Breitbart.com as one of the right-wing media organizations she wanted to shut down, because that's not fascist at all, which had this brilliant effect of a whole lot of people went to Breitbart to check it out. What were they saying? Because if you don't know your opponent's arguments, then how do you know yours are the best? That's just something I'd ponder. Also, if you haven't checked out Breitbart.com, go and check them out. Especially recommend Big Government. Today's show was really just a rant of a number of leftover things I wanted to get off my chest. Coming up is basically getting back to normal, which is not talking about the US election And hopefully next week our brand new contributor will be up to join us. Until next week, remember, the world is a-changing.